Transportation of the Captives by Ginzberg. Nebuchadnezzar's orders were to hurry the captives along the road to Babylon without stop or stay. He feared the Jews might else find opportunity to supplicate the mercy of God, and he, compassionate as he is, would release them instantly they did penance. 46 Accordingly, there was no pause in the forward march, until the Euphrates was reached. There they were within the borders of the empire of Nebuchadnezzar, and he thought he had nothing more to fear. Many of the Jews died as soon as they drank of the Euphrates. In their native land, they had been accustomed to the water drawn from springs and wells. Mourning over their dead, and over the others that had fallen by the way, they sat on the banks of the river, while Nebuchadnezzar and his princes on their vessels celebrated their victory amid song and music. The king noticed that the princes of Judah, though they were in chains, bore no load upon their shoulders, and he called to his servants, "Have you no load for these?" They took the parchment scrolls of the law, tore them in pieces, made sacks of them, and filled them with sand. These they loaded upon the backs of the Jewish princes. At sight of this disgrace, all Israel broke out into loud weeping. The voice of their sorrow pierced the very heavens, and God determined to turn the world once more into chaos, for he told himself that after all the world was created but for the sake of Israel. The angels hastened thither, and they spake before God, "O Lord of the world, the universe is thine. Is it not enough that thou hast dismembered thy earthly house, the temple? Wilt thou destroy thy heavenly house too?" God, restraining them, said, "Do you think I am a creature of flesh and blood, and stand in need of consolation? Do I not know beginning and end of all things? Go rather and remove their burdens from the princes of Judah." Aided by God, the angels descended, and they carried the loads put upon the Jewish captives until they reached Babylon. On their way, they passed the city of Bari. 47 The inhabitants thereof were not a little astonished at the cruelty of Nebuchadnezzar, who made the captives march naked. The people of Bari stripped their slaves of their clothes, and presented the slaves to Nebuchadnezzar. When the king expressed his astonishment thereat, they said, "We thought thou wert particularly pleased with naked men." The king at once ordered the Jews to be arrayed in their garments. The reward accorded the Bariites was that God endowed them forever with beauty and irresistible grace. 48 The compassionate Bariites did not find many imitators. The very opposite quality was displayed by the Ammonites, Moabites, Edomites, and Arabs. Despite their close kinship with Israel, their conduct toward the Jews was dictated by cruelty. The two first mentioned, the Ammonites and the Moabites, when they heard the prophet foretell the destruction of Jerusalem, hastened without a moment's delay to report it to Nebuchadnezzar and urge him to attack Jerusalem. The scruples of the Babylonian king, who feared God, and all the reasons he advanced against a combat with Israel, they refuted, and finally they induced him to act as they wished. 49 At the capture of the city, while all the strange nations were seeking booty, the Ammonites and the Moabites threw themselves into the temple to seize the scroll of the law, because it contained the clause against their entering into the assembly of the Lord, even to the 10th generation. 50 To disgrace the faith of Israel, they plucked the cherubim from the Holy of Holies and dragged them through the streets of Jerusalem, crying aloud at the same time, "Behold these sacred things that belong to the Israelites, who say ever they have no idols." The Edomites were still more hostile, 51, in the hour of Israel's need. They went to Jerusalem with Nebuchadnezzar, but they kept themselves at a distance from the city, there to await the outcome of the battle between the Jews and the Babylonians. If the Jews had been victorious, they would have pretended they had come to bring them aid. When Nebuchadnezzar's victory became known, they showed their true feelings. Those who escaped the sword of the Babylonians were hewn down by the hand of the Edomites. 52 But in fiendish cunning, these nations were surpassed by the Ishmaelites. 80,000 young priests, each with a golden shield upon his breast, succeeded in making their way through the ranks of Nebuchadnezzar and in reaching the Ishmaelites. They asked for water to drink. The reply of the Ishmaelites was, "First eat, and then you may drink," at the same time handing them salt food. Their thirst was increased, and the Ishmaelites gave them leather bags filled with nothing but air instead of water. When they raised them to their mouths, the air entered their bodies, and they fell dead. Other Arabic tribes showed their hostility openly, as the Pomerans, who put 80,000 archers at the disposal of Nebuchadnezzar in his war against Israel. 53